Hello, everybody. I have the opportunity here to take you through a screencast to support you in your understanding of our new portfolio template, a new portfolio process. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Adam Poppy. I'm the chair for secondary education, but I also manage our live tech system behind the scenes. So if you have any questions as follow-up to this video, please feel free to reach out to me, to stop on by or shoot me an email. I'm happy to help out. All right, so this video is designed to be for those students who began the portfolio process with our old portfolio. We have a new template that is aligned to a new set of standards. The state of Wisconsin has changed from the Wisconsin Model Academic Standards to the InTask standards, and you'll see how that looks different. We decided as department chairs to update the whole process of our portfolio because of this opportunity to change the standards. Why not rethink how we do the whole thing? So, in the grand scheme of things, when you log into LiveText, you're not going to have as many things on your dashboard as I have here. But what you will see is you will be in a single course that's called Portfolio. There are going to be 3 assignments that are listed there. You are not going to do the first assignment, however, the first portfolio, because you've already done that. However, this is where you are going to go to grab the template. So you're going to go in. Mine says continue because I've actually clicked on this once already as a student, but yours will say begin. Notice that the submission deadline is way in the future. The idea is that you are going to be, if you're a Port 2 student, we're keeping this course portfolio open for a long time with multiple assignments inside of it. So there'll be a Port 1 assignment, Port 2, Port 3. Again, if you've already done a Port 1, you don't need to do a Port 1 again, but this is where you're going to grab the new template. So I click on continue, and this is where you're going to get, it says required templates. We're going to create the document. So I'm going to click on that, and that will now give you access to the new template. So by clicking on that, you actually can work right in here right away, or it will actually be saved in your LiveText doc. So when you go there and we go to our work, it should be saved in here. I have so many different documents, but mine is going to be in here as the portfolio, fall 2019 portfolio 1 template. But I'm going to go back to my dashboard. I'm going to go back into that Ed 102 course, portfolio. And now I am just simply going to begin editing inside of this template. It should look very similar to just the logistics of navigating LiveText hasn't changed. We've just laid it out a little bit differently. So the first thing you're going to see is a page for LiveText tutorials. That was there when you did your original Port 1. But we've updated a little bit. To give you full context into what the InTask standards are about, I have attached the 57-page document. By no means do we expect you to read all of it, but it does give you insights into what these new standards are. As we look along the left-hand side of our kind of table of contents or different pages that are embedded, you'll see that the names of the standards have changed. Standard 1 used to be subject matter competency, now it's learner development. And as you look through these things, nothing's new in terms of like what we're expecting our graduating education majors to know. It's just been repackaged. So there's learner development, learning differences, learning environments, all the way through to our 11th standard, which is our Concordia standard. The first 10 are from InTask. The 11th, we believe that we want you to be teachers filled with character and faith. So, moving right along. Within the LiveText tutorials, you're going to see the various things that are expected of you. Please read this in major detail. Again, this video is for our Port 2 and Port 3 students. Our Port 1 students, they will this year be rolling in this new portfolio. They are going to have There's going to be an expectation where they're going to be including just 5 artifacts for their first portfolio. For you, and here this first page is mainly for those first students, those Portfolio 1 students. However, here's what I want to highlight for you. So at Port 2, when we are doing our portfolio, and let's say we're working on Standard 1, you will notice that there is a spot as an optional Portfolio 1 artifact. Well, if you're a Portfolio 2 student, you don't have the option. You have to put one single artifact in this spot. If you're a Port 3 student, because there are Port 3 students watching this video as well, you don't need to put anything in the Port 2 spot if you're a Port 3 student. If you're a Port 3 student, here's what you need to do. You need to include 2 artifacts here. Every single standard is represented in Portfolio 2. You need to put 1 artifact in each of the 11 standards. In Portfolio 3, you need to put 2 artifacts. So please hear this clearly. If you're a Port 2 student, the only thing that you're doing is putting 1 artifact in each of the 11 standards. If you're a Port 3 student, you don't need to go back and do things for Port 2. You don't need to go back and do things for Port 1. Just give us 2 artifacts per standard as a Port 3 student. Now, what you need to do in addition to the artifacts, and I have it listed here in the live text tutorials, you are going to... So within each of your artifacts, one of the things that we are going to ask of you, we want to make sure that what you include is your created product. But in addition, for each artifact, so you don't have, so this is different than in the past, you don't have like a narrative for the entire standard. You do have something where you describe your particular artifact. So here, for each artifact you upload, include 2 paragraphs, minimum of 4 sentences per paragraph of support. The first paragraph should describe your artifact while reflecting on the assessment feedback you received on that artifact. The second paragraph should clearly show the connection between the standard and the artifact. So what we are going to be assessing you on, one of the elements, is your ability to reflect upon the original feedback that you got on that artifact. So we would like for your artifacts to have been assessed by a previous Concordia professor, and then we're going to listen, through your writing, listen to your ability to articulate what you've learned from that. And so you're going to make that connection to the standard, and then also connect your understanding of what the feedback kind of did to inform your understanding. And so that's what you're going to do for each artifact. By the way, your cover letter should be written in the style of a business letter. I do have a hyperlinked example here for you to take a peek at. So you do want to have an updated cover letter for your Port 2 or Port 3, whichever of those you are. But ultimately, that is really the large process in terms of what you're going to do. So as a Port 2 students, 11 total artifacts, 1 for each standard. Port 3 student, 22 total artifacts, 2 for each of the 11 standards. I do want to point out to you as well that when you go into the assignment, so when you grab that template, you are going to then, if you've gone through and you've edited it and you're in your live text docs and you've worked on it, when it's time to submit, all you're going to do is you're going to go into the correct portfolio. So if you're a Port 2 student and you're in Ed 200, or if you're a Port 3 student in Ed 300, you're going to click Begin Assignment, and all you're going to do is click Attach, and that's where you can find in your work, your portfolio, and let's just say this is mine, which it isn't, but let's say it is. I click on it, say Attach, and there it's going to be, and all I need to do then is click the red Submit, and it is now sent off to the professors to take a look at. And it's going to ask for sure. Absolutely, I'm sure. And now it's submitted. But I do want to point something out to you as well. So when we are in our particular assignment, we have included for you the spot where it says how you're going to be assessed. So I'd recommend that we take a good look at that and become familiar with what the assessment, how we are going to assess you. So this first part is just the listing of the different standards that we look at in terms of the assessment process. But if you look closely now, you can see how we're going to look at the learner development standard, the first standard, and the different items that we are going to be looking for to see whether you are advanced, proficient, emerging, minimal. It is just fine as a Port 2 student to not have a lot of advanced. You're growing. As a Port 3 student, you may not have a lot of those either. Now, obviously, we want you to be proficient. That's really the goal. There could be some emergings. We really don't want minimals, and especially not any of the nothing present. But basically, go through each of these different levels of the rubric to see the different standards and the ways that we are going to measure you. One last thing here, a couple last things. The university has gone to these global learning outcomes, and one of them is very important to us, and that's the Christian faith. And they have multiple different ways that we as a School of Ed can look at you and say, hey, this is one way to show understanding of the Christian faith. The one that we are going to consistently look at from portfolio level to portfolio level is this one, where you are showing how you use the Christian faith to inform your exploration of your vocation, teaching, and applying that Christian faith to your personal and vocational contexts. So that's really what you're going to use that understanding of that particular GLOW, that Global Learning Outcome for Standard 11. However, for those of you who are Christian Teacher Certificate and Lutheran Teacher Diploma candidates at your Port 3, we would like for at least for one of those two artifacts to do this, to be focused on Bible knowledge, Christian faith applied to contemporary organizational or professional situations. So just be certain if that's you, if you're pursuing the Christian Teacher Certificate or the Lutheran Teacher Diploma, for Port 3, one of your two artifacts will need to align to this. So at Port 2, we are not assessing this particular portion in this rubric, just the one above it. In addition, you will be experiencing an interview. We are going now for Port 2. If you're a Port 2 student, ideally the situation is going to be that you're going to work one-on-one with one of the School of Ed professors. That same individual is going to be ideally your assessor for Port 3. So you're going to have that continuation working with that individual. We are going to have a number of scripted questions that all of our candidates will respond to in those interviews, and others that we'll be able to kind of do as follow-up questions. But now we're going to have this communication rubric that we're going to be looking to assess your verbal communication, which is one of our global learning outcomes, is just communicative fluency. We're going to be looking at your interpersonal communication and your written communication. So within the interview, that's the verbal piece, the interpersonal piece, and I'd highly recommend that you look at these items because that's how we're going to be differentiating your proficiency. The written communication is going to be represented by your writing in the portfolio itself. And then ultimately, we're going to say yes or no. Whether or not you have passed. One thing that you will notice that is absent from this portfolio that used to be there in our previous versions is that in our previous versions we had a requirement for you to upload particular items from your clinical experiences. You can still make use of some of those artifacts as actual artifacts, but we're not requiring like a separate spot for field experience documents. So that's not something we forgot. It is intentional that it's not there. All right, folks, that was a lot that I just blabbed at you, but hopefully that gives you some insights. Please feel free to follow up with any questions that you have, and take care and God bless.